Hello everyone, welcome to the U.S. Immigration Express News. So far in 2025, deportations, visa restrictions, and tough immigration policies have continued to create immense pressure on immigrants across the United States. Both employment and family green card holders face growing uncertainty as legal pathways become tighter and enforcement ramps up. The Trump administration's aggressive immigration actions have been shaking the lives of millions trying to build a future here. However, this week the Supreme Court made a significant ruling blocking a fast-track deportation effort under a little-known wartime law, offering protection for visa holders and families against sudden removals without proper notice or legal recourse. The Supreme Court's decision, made by a 7-2 majority, extended an order preventing the administration from deporting dozens of men detained in northern Texas. The government had tried to use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, a rarely used law from the early years of the Republic, to justify quick deportations, arguing these men were linked to the Venezuelan gang called Tren de Aragua. The court was clear that the government failed to provide these detainees with basic constitutional due process rights. Deportation notices were given only 24 hours before removals, lacking meaningful instructions on how to challenge the deportation in court. The ruling emphasized that a notice issued so close to deportation, without clear information on how to exercise legal rights, does not meet acceptable standards. While the decision does not permanently block deportations under the Alien Enemies Act, it requires the administration to give advance notice and a real opportunity for detainees to contest their removal in court. The Supreme Court sent the case back to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals for further review, effectively pausing removals under this controversial law for now. The Alien Enemies Act, passed in 1798, was designed for wartime and grants presidents sweeping power to detain and remove nationals of hostile foreign states. It has been invoked only 3 times, all during declared wars. President Trump's use of it in peacetime to target alleged gang members from Venezuela represents an unprecedented expansion of executive power in immigration enforcement. Legal experts and civil rights advocates quickly warned about the dangers of bypassing established immigration procedures. The court reaffirmed that no person should be removed from the United States without some opportunity to be heard. Critics say the administration's approach risks undermining the checks and balances meant to protect individuals from wrongful or arbitrary deportations, a cornerstone of American due process. At the heart of the legal fight are dozens of Venezuelan men detained in Texas accused of gang ties. The stakes are life-altering for these individuals. The court cited the case of Kilma Abrego Garcia, a Maryland resident mistakenly deported to a prison in El Salvador, highlighting the risks of hasty removals without judicial oversight. The justices expressed concern about the government's inability to guarantee the safe return of those deported in error, stressing the need for careful review before any removal. Immigrant rights groups, including the American Civil Liberties Union, praised the decision as a critical safeguard against potential human rights abuses. The ruling was seen as a rebuke to the government's rush to apply a wartime law during peacetime. President Trump responded with outrage, posting on his social media platform that the Supreme Court's ruling would allow criminals to flood into the country and block his campaign promises to crack down on illegal immigration. He described the decision as a bad and dangerous day and accused the court of undermining his executive authority. His supporters echoed these concerns, arguing the judiciary is obstructing efforts to protect national security and enforce immigration laws. On the other side, critics warn that Trump's aggressive use of presidential power threatens the constitutional system of checks and balances. While the majority of the Supreme Court sided with the detainees, Justices Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito dissented, arguing the court acted prematurely and should have allowed lower courts more time to consider the case. Justice Brett Kavanaugh, in a separate opinion, suggested that the Supreme Court should eventually provide a definitive ruling on the Alien Enemies Act's scope and its role in modern immigration cases. The legal battle is far from over. The case now returns to the Fifth Circuit Court, where core questions about the president's power to use the Alien Enemies Act in peacetime and the due process required will be contested in the coming months. This Supreme Court decision is one of several recent judicial setbacks for the Trump administration's attempts to speed up deportations and tighten immigration enforcement. It highlights the ongoing tension between executive authority and judicial oversight, a defining feature of America's immigration debates today. For migrants and their advocates, the ruling offers hope, reaffirming that even those accused of serious crimes deserve basic legal protections before removal. For the administration and its supporters, it represents a frustrating obstacle to swift action against individuals seen as threats to public safety. The outcome of this case could set a major precedent on the limits of presidential power in immigration policy, especially without new legislation from Congress. Across the country, reactions were swift and passionate. In Texas, where many affected detainees are held, immigrant families and advocacy groups expressed relief and hope, thankful the court recognized the need for fairness and due process. Law enforcement officials and conservative lawmakers voiced frustration, warning the ruling could embolden gangs and complicate border security efforts. As the case moves back through the appeals courts, the future of the Alien Enemies Act as a tool for immigration enforcement remains uncertain. Legal experts expect the Supreme Court will eventually have to provide a final ruling on the law's constitutionality and reach. Meanwhile, the administration must comply with the court's order to provide detainees with adequate notice and a real chance to challenge their deportations in court. For the migrants involved, the fight continues, with their fate now resting in lower courts and the broader national debate over how America balances security, compassion, and the rule of law. This moment marks a pivotal chapter in the nation's immigration story, testing the limits of presidential power, the strength of constitutional protections, and the question of who gets to call America home. The U.S. Immigration News Channel will keep providing updates and essential visa information, including processing steps, application requirements, forms, fees, and details on visitor, work, student, green card, and family visas. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do so for the latest on your U.S. immigration journey. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.